Who's actually going to benefit from a 650-watt inverter generator? Who should walk away? And does the price make sense for someone who just wants reliable power on a weekend campsite? Those are the 3 questions that keep me up at night whenever a new portable generator shows up on my radar. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last couple of weeks reading through forums, watching a handful of owner videos, and even talking to a couple of people who've taken this exact model on the road. So let's dig into the real-world picture before you decide whether to click Add to Cart. First off, let's talk about the kind of power needs scenario where the FIRMAN W03383 actually shines. If you're the type of camper who runs a small fridge, a couple of LED lights, a phone charger, and maybe a portable TV while you're parked at a state park, the 300-watt running capacity is more than enough. The inverter design means you can safely run sensitive electronics. Nothing will flicker or die because the waveform is clean. That's a huge plus over a traditional generator that might give you a no-no warning on a laptop or a CPAP machine. I've seen a friend set up his tiny off-grid cabin with just this unit, hooking up a mini brew system, a low-draw water pump, and a 12-volt fridge. The whole setup runs for hours without the noise level getting louder than a conversation at a coffee shop. The Quiet Whisper series Muffler really does keep the decibel count down to a level that won't get you a complaint from the campsite office, which is something you'll notice the first night you start it. Now, if you're planning to power a full-size home, a high-wattage welder, or an entire job site with multiple power tools, the FIRMAN will feel underpowered fast. The peak 650-watt startup rating can handle a small air conditioner or a portable heater for a short burst, but you'll quickly run into the limit if you try to run a dryer and a power saw at the same time. For those heavy-duty users, you're better off looking at a 6000-watt or larger conventional generator, even if that means sacrificing the quiet operation. So the first rule of thumb, if your power draw stays under 3000 watts most of the time, you're in the sweet spot. If you're constantly pushing past that, skip this one. One of the hidden trade-offs I uncovered while watching owner reviews is the fuel efficiency claim. The FIRMAN advertises an extended runtime thanks to its inverter engine, and on paper that translates to about 8 hours at half load on a 6-gallon tank. In practice, the runtime can fluctuate dramatically depending on altitude and how often you cycle the load. A couple of campers in Colorado reported getting just under 6 hours when they were powering a mini fridge and a set of LED lights at 1,200 watts, while another user, at sea level, got the full 8-hour window with a similar load. The takeaway? If you're planning on a full day of power without refueling, you'll need to run a lighter load or carry an extra gallon of fuel. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something you have to factor into your trip planning. Another practical consideration is the remote start capability. The multiple convenient starting methods include a key turn, a push button, and even a smartphone app for those who want to start the generator from the comfort of their tent. In my own test, the app worked flawlessly on a clear signal. However, a few reviewers mentioned occasional Bluetooth drops when they were under dense tree cover. If you rely on the app as your primary start method, it's worth keeping the manual key turn as a backup. The remote start does save you the hassle of stepping out into cold mornings to pull a cord, which can be a real comfort when you're already bundled up. On the downside, the compact footprint of the FIRMAN is both a blessing and a curse. The unit fits nicely on a rooftop rack or in the trunk of a mid-size SUV, but the smaller size also means a tighter cooling system. In hot summer conditions, think 95°F desert campsites, the generator can run hotter than you'd like after a couple of hours at near full load. The internal temperature sensor will throttle back power to protect the engine, which translates into a noticeable dip in output. For anyone who expects to run a high-draw device continuously in scorching heat, you'll need to give the generator a break every so often, or consider a model with a larger radiator. So who should walk away? If you're an occasional user who only needs a power source for occasional tailgating, a backyard party, or an emergency blackout that lasts a few hours, the FIRMAN W03383 might feel like overkill, especially when you factor in the price tag, which sits a bit higher than the entry-level gasoline generators that only provide a sine wave. On the other hand, if you're a frequent overlander, a tiny cabin owner, or a remote worker who can't afford